Action is the smallest unit of accomplishment. I love thinking about action this way, as the smallest unit of accomplishment. So if we could take one of your accomplishments and stick it under a microscope and look deep into the heart of it, what would we see at the cellular level? We would see all these many actions that you've taken over time. In fact, your accomplishment is comprised of all these many actions you've taken. Without those actions, there would be no accomplishment. So that's one way of looking at action as the smallest unit of accomplishment. Action is also one of your primary powers. The capacity to take action is your creative power. So I love both of these ways of thinking about action. And I also want to remind you of something that I've said before, which is action is not that fancy, right? So goals are fancy, results are fancy, deliverables are fancy, milestones, very fancy. All of that is fancy. What's not fancy is the day in, day out action. So the game of goal achievement is about getting good at taking consistent action over time. That is the game of goal achievement. So it's very easy to have an inspirational burst of activity and flame out like a shooting star, right? And burn out like a shooting star so that you actually cannot follow through with the actual goal achievement. In this flurry of inspiration, you took a bunch of action, but then did not follow it through, and so therefore did not achieve your goal. Possibility. So when you're in a sprint, for example, and I know we've organized our work in sprints, but we have many sprints all linked together, right? To achieve our goals for the season and then achieve our goals for the year. So we know that we're not just doing one sprint for 2 weeks. We're in this for the long game. So if you're just doing one sprint, it's easy to just kind of press go and go full out and you're done, right? With a marathon, you have time to kind of settle in, right? And start to have a little conversation with yourself and think, am I really up for this? Or do I really know what I'm doing? Or will I really get to my goal at the end? So there's a kind of grit that's required when you really want to stay with your goals. Goal achievement is not for sissies. Goal achievement requires the courage to stay with the day in, day out, unfancy action. And there's something about staying with a goal over time that can feel a little vulnerable or exposing. And I've thought a lot about this, and I think part of that is that over time you start to show yourself, when you continue to take action towards a goal, you start to show yourself your own level of commitment. You're sort of putting yourself out there on the line. And also other people see that as well. And that can feel vulnerable. What if you don't make it? What if you don't do it well? What if you don't perform well? All those things can happen. So there's something vulnerable about staying with a goal, and I'm bringing it up because the temptation can be to then let it go because it starts to feel a little vulnerable. But remember, a lot of the goals that you're going for are on the edge of the comfort zone, right? They're outside of what you've done before. And so you're bound to have moments where you feel a little vulnerable or exposed. So just keep riding the wave and keep riding through that. Keep taking action. All goals, all outcomes, all results happen action by action by action, just weaving them together over time. So people who are successful at achieving their goals, they have a bias for action. When in doubt, act. Just keep going, keep moving forward. Staying power is a force of nature. Staying power is a force of nature. It will find a way to get there.